Hey, this is Mike Mascia at Cadwallader. Thanks for tuning in to Fund Finance Friday Industry Conversations on this busy week where I know every deal in the market's trying to close. With me today is Michael Sinclair, Managing Director at People's United. Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks again for inviting me to join you this week.
You bet. Thanks for being with us, man. How are things in Boston? I know you like to ski. Have you hit the slopes yet?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, the city is pretty quiet these days. We're all still working from home, and downtown we expect the traffic to be pretty limited there, at least for the next few months. The good news, as you just mentioned, is that the ski season is in full swing. So my wife and I have been able to get the kids back out on the snow, and that's definitely helped break up the remote learning routine.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, hopefully you'll get some good snow here this winter and you'll be able to get out a little bit.
That'd be great.
So what about at Peoples? I hear you guys did some Herculean work on the PPP earlier in the year. Tell us about that.
Sure. So Peoples was one of the first banks in the country to begin accepting PPP applications back in April. Since then, our business banking colleagues have been able to close more than 16,000 PPP loans, and those totaled roughly $2.6 billion. The proceeds of those loans were used to support the paychecks of more than 250,000 small business employees. So Mike, you're absolutely right in saying that this was a massive undertaking, especially for a mid-sized bank with just over 60 billion in assets.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Now, did your team get pulled over to do some work on that project?
We did share some resources to help our colleagues in the small business groups, but we ended up not needing to utilize the PPP money for our clients.
Okay, great, great. And then speaking of fund finance, like how are things going and what segment of the market are you guys focused on right now?
Sure. With respect to product type, we provide mainly subscription-based financing. The bank does have the ability to provide leverage against certain types of loans. However, that product is managed within our ABL group. We're sector agnostic by design. However, we've seen the most activity with credit and real estate funds. In terms of geography, we work with managers based across the country. However, we spend the most time calling on firms on the East Coast and within the bank's footprint. The funds that we work with typically range in size from 200 million to 2 billion. And those funds can be managed by firms ranging from small regional players all the way through large global firms.
Great. Any cool deals to tell us about?
One current example is a $300 million syndication that we're leading. This is a 7-bank deal that we hope will set the stage for us to be able to lead a lot more multi-bank deals on a routine basis. Mike, I need to give a shout out to you and your team at Cadwallader for the really excellent work that you've done in crafting the documents and for representing us as aging counsel. We definitely could not have pulled this together without you.
Well, appreciate that. Appreciate that. What about market trends? What are you guys seeing in the market that would be of interest?
Yeah, so I guess the answer depends on the time frame. If you go all the way back to the early shutdowns in March and April, we saw spreads widen, we saw rate floors going up, and we saw more restrictive repayment requirements. Many of our peer banks did slow down on new business, so that created an opportunity for us as a relatively new player in this market. Then fast forward to the current market, we've now seen deal volume picking back up. Pricing has come back in a little bit, but it still remains above the pre-COVID levels. The fourth quarter has definitely been busier than the summer.
Yeah, so we've definitely noticed that in the fourth quarter as well. I thought that the March and April timeframe would be the busiest part of our year when all the demand pulled forward because of the uncertainty. And it sort of looked like that was going to be the case in September and August when things moderated a little bit. But man, November and December have certainly been busy.
Yeah, we experienced the post Labor Day surge, and it's going to continue right down to the wire on December 31st, I think.
Yeah. What about for 2021? How are you guys projecting volume as we look out into the new year?
Yeah, so I mean, with the vaccine on the way and a more clear path to reopening the economy, our general expectation is that both fundraising and deal making activity will hopefully revert back to 2019 levels. For those of us in the fund finance market, this should lead to greater demand for credit facilities and hopefully higher utilization on those lines. At Peoples, we expect to see accelerated growth in our business. And we may look to add new talent next year to support that growth.
Yeah, that's something I want to talk to you about a little bit. I feel like this year, we all put the brakes on hiring when COVID hit, but the way our businesses continued on pretty strong, it's like hiring hasn't been able to keep pace. And the result is, again, we grew another year without adding enough bodies to keep up with the growth. It seems like there's got to be some hiring that needs to be done.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I would say for the next 6 months or so, we're properly staffed, but we're trying to look ahead with staffing and headcount and be ready for the portfolio we think we'll have a year from now, not the one we have today.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Any other forecasts for 2021?
Just back to our team. The bank's balance sheet has grown, so we now have the scale to take pretty meaningful bite sizes and lead club deals. So we think that will help us grow our book of business. We're generally optimistic about the business climate, and we look forward to getting back on planes and visiting our clients and our friends hopefully soon.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Michael, thanks a lot for joining us, man. It's good to see you. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks again, Mike. I really appreciate it, and happy holidays.
Yeah, you too, man. Have a good one. Well, thanks for tuning in. I know everybody's working hard. Please have a good weekend. Give me a buzz if I can do anything to be helpful.
The material and information contained in the podcast is for general informational purposes only. Any use of the audio within this podcast without the express consent of Cadwalader is prohibited. Quotes from this podcast may not be used without the express permission of the speaker.